I wanted to show you a little bit of how the garden is going. I'm just going to put it over here on the screen. I'm just implementing some things with the horse manure. Hopefully the horse manure is not too hot, and hopefully it's decomposed enough. I don't know if I'm killing some stuff with over burning it with nitrogen or not. Some things I should have asked before we got the horse manure, like how long it was composted for. But anyway, moving on. Before some of you might get bored with some of this conversation, but I want to show you our new baby kittens that our precious cat Lily had. We have one female cat that I intentionally do not have not spayed. I just want one female. It was very nostalgic growing up to enjoy baby kittens when we were growing up at our grandma's farm, and that's something that I want to continue doing until my kids outgrow it. And I wanted to talk about, I'll do that first, take a breather, but I also want to talk about calcium milk fever, calcium and autism, and how I'm kind of thinking about those things.
I am putting dandelions in a cup of water so the pollen can fall out.
The pollen? Are you making a tea? Did you know dandelions are edible and they're actually very nutritious for you?
But I'll drink some of it and put the rest in the yard so I have a lot of dandelions.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I love you. All right. Let's kick it here.
In pregnancy, when we conceive a baby, we also start growing an organ. And this organ is intended to be with this baby throughout the whole plus or minus 40 weeks. And this is what feeds the baby. This is what nourishes the baby. This is the baby's home. And we, with growing this organ, have to look at what we're putting into our bodies. Today, we had the opportunity for me to look at two placentas side by side. One being a vegetarian placenta and the other one being a mom that was very nutrient dense with the foods that she was eating with an animal-based diet. I cannot believe the difference in the quality of the placenta, and not just the quality of the placenta, but in turn the nutrition of what the baby was growing in and what the baby received throughout the whole pregnancy. This one right here was from a mom that was primarily vegetarian throughout her pregnancy. Towards the end of her pregnancy, I was able to get her on liver pills just because her iron had dropped so significantly. And this is the placenta of a mom who was animal-based throughout her pregnancy. So she had lots of red meat, lots of pasteurized eggs, lots of raw milk. And the difference between the two, I mean, it's just obvious. There is such a huge substantial difference in the quality and the consistency of these placentas. Over here, this is called calcification. If you feel it, it's hard. There's a little bit of like a sand-like, rock-like consistency, and this is throughout the whole entire placenta. This is not what we would want to see in pregnancy. In my almost 19 years of doing births, I've never had a side-by-side comparison, and it's mind-blowing to me. It's really sad that this is the start of a baby's life. This is the start of their nutrition. This is what fed them. This is what housed them. And they, it's mind-blowing to see the comparison.
I've had midwives and doulas tell me that when they see the placenta, which is attached to the umbilical cord of vegans, they look a lot like a smoker's placenta. And we know that the health of these critical connections, this tether between baby and mother, are intimately tied to the amount of animal products in the diet. We see it over and over illustrated.
If we have somebody that's eating animal-based, we had somebody that's eating grass-fed, grass-finished meats on a regular basis, if we have somebody that's eating pasteurized eggs and raw dairy, then what we're going to see is all of these vitamins, this retinol, this copper, that's all being pushed through the placenta and helping this baby sustain life.
Okay, so I want to offer a little bit of constructive pushback. So I believe that there people could do a vegan diet very, very well, a vegetarian diet very well, if they understood exactly what their body could be lacking and getting an appropriate amount of like seaweed and algae and omega-3s, and if their body wasn't already trying to fight something of an illness inside of them already, with the popular carnivore diet, more of like really meat-based, basically only meat, I believe that is so popular because it is taking out the toxic reactions that mold can create in your body when it's up against a phytochemical that is chasing after it and trying to kill it, or trying to process something of an enzyme to combat that plant or whatever it may be. All right, that's too broad. I'm going to try to zone it in. So I think that basically what she was saying with the grass-based diet, nutrient-dense animal products, lots of bioavailability, and that placenta, the calcifications in that placenta are very interesting. Boron and iodine are important for calcium regulation in your body, especially boron and K2 and vitamin D. Your fat-soluble vitamins in that animal fat, in that in the nutrient-dense, the retinol, like she was talking about, is vitamin A that's in the fat-soluble vitamins and in that meat and organ meat. So I want us to think about also, and I'm not saying, hey, go drink raw milk, because I would want it to come from a cow that was very well cared for, that wasn't eating mycotoxin filled hay, and that was very much so getting enough iodine in its diet. I could go in so many bunny trails, so I'm going to try not to. When I was watching one of Roots and Refuge's videos, she was talking about milk fever, and I had no idea what it was. And milk fever is when a cow pushes out way too much calcium in its milk, that it goes hypocalcemic in its body. So it's not getting enough calcium for, calcium is important for all muscles in the body. So you can imagine every single muscle, smooth your heart rate, your everything. And you can have like sweats. It's kind of like, so the sweat in your body, I was reading up on milk fever, and that can be kind of a myth, because sometimes there could be sweat, but sometimes there wouldn't be sweat. It's interesting, in autism, there is a lot of association with calcium dysregulation, and one of the early signs of autism can be sweating. So even if you have a genetic predisposition to, let's say, they find genetics linked to autism, that doesn't mean that our environment is not giving us epigenetic factors, and epigenetics go a long, long way. Epigenetics are what controls our genetics inside of us. So we need to be thinking about those things. And
how did you get that?
We also, it's just vastly interesting to me. These are the things that intrigue my mind. I also wanted to talk to you guys about my eucalyptus plant. So here goes. You saw in my last video, and I'll place a link here, a card. You saw that I was using milk to try to cure a fungus on my plant. Now, I messaged the company, and the company is called Wilson Bros, and they're the ones that shipped me the eucalyptus plant. They were easy to work with, they were responsive, and they were fast, and they said that the eucalyptus plant often looks like that, although I would say those little dots on it is some kind of nutritional deficiency that it's just got to get worked out, but it kind of gets that purple hue to it. I wasn't concerned about the purple hue. There was a noticeable like cream colored something on it. I don't know if it was some kind of residual spray, but whatever. I ripped the worst leaves off, ones that were kind of cracked and not healthy looking, and then there was one that almost had like black on the end of it. I don't think it was a good thing. You saw me put on my plant the milk with a drop of iodine, and it didn't say that in the literature to put iodine in it, but I have a belief, that an educated belief, that we do not have enough iodine in most of our milk. And not only in not enough iodine, I believe that I believe that when our body mixes, and I don't know this for sure, and I wouldn't be surprised if I was wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if I was right. When I mixed iodine with milk one time to chug it, I noticed how golden it was, and it reminded me of colostrum. And I looked up, I thought, I wonder if colostrum has more iodine concentration in it than regular milk, and indeed it does. Now, I won't say that that is the only reason why the colostrum is called liquid gold and iodine gives a gold tint. I won't say that. It's probably a load of other things as well, but I'm wondering about that. And I know that through the doctors that I have listened to talk about iodine, the breasts love molecular iodine. They love it. And I noticed when I was, before letting down of breast milk, when I was breastfeeding my baby before my surgery, I noticed that before I started iodine, I felt throw-uppy right before letdown almost every time. I could feel like an urge to want to throw up, and then I would let down and that urge would go away. and I believe I just had such a load of toxins and deficiency of iodine that I felt that way. And I believe that the milk, when it lets down, it's not like it's somewhere else. It like comes out of the it's like a filtration system of like I don't know, it's weird how the body just creates a big surge of milk. And I believe that it probably mixes the iodine probably mixes with the milk, and that the freshest milk would probably be the very best milk for someone to drink, non-pasteurized, as long as that animal was on a healthy diet, didn't have a bunch of moldy hay. In Iowa, that's a problem. Nebraska, it's less of a problem. If it didn't have moldy hay that it was munching on, and it didn't have a bunch of mycotoxin corn and wheat, and the storage of it was correct. And that is very hard to do, because right now our fields are the moldiest they have ever been, because we have killed so much biodiversity and we have polluted the environment so much that fungus thrives in pollution and biodiversity does not. So we are more susceptible to fungus nowadays than we were. And I find that rather intriguing. I put the iodine in the milk because I knew that it was going to help it. I didn't kill my plant. So that's a good thing. And I don't know if it's suffering with a fungus. I don't know if that was residual spray, but I don't think I need to do it again. I'm just gonna see what the new growth looks like. I supported it with, I put lava rock on the top of the top layer of the pot, and I am letting it dry out. It likes to dry out. Some plants love a lot of moisture, some plants don't. And so I'm letting it dry out some. I put some potash on it to give it some oomph, and I know that they don't care for a lot of nitrogen, so I'm not giving it nitrogen. I'll read up some more on my eucalyptus plant. But and in some ways you think, okay, so if eucalyptus is antifungal, why is that? Why is there fungus on a plant? Why does it on any plant? Any plant can suffer with a fungal problem when it doesn't have the right environment, and when it is when it doesn't have the right environment, and when it has deficiencies. So a poor environment and deficiencies. And you notice a lot of times, what do your house plants suffer with the most? Usually fungus. It's usually a fungal infection that your plants have inside because they're not getting enough sunlight, and they're cooped up in a space that's not circulating a lot of ozone, not circulating a lot of air flow, just poor air quality inside. Even the stuff that we have for building materials isn't very healthy for us. So it's just interesting to know and to think about how much our plants suffer inside. And when you create, also just a side note, if you have fungus that's growing in the pot, you actually could be adding to the fungal burden in your home because of not drying out the soil or not taking care of that fungus with some kind of remedy like hydrogen peroxide or iodine, or supporting its nutrition or biodiversity. So that is huge. I'm not going to solve all your problems in that respect, and I'll probably have problems of my own to work out for myself. So I'll just go on through life and try as I go. Another thing about the milk, coming back to the milk thoughts. So milk is actually quite fungy itself. Now, I don't think that it should be as fungy as fungy as it is, especially if you take raw milk and set it out, it clobbers, it becomes cheese. It becomes cheese. Raw milk set out becomes cheese. It usually doesn't grow a bunch of fungus in it. If you set out milk from conventionally farmed milk jugs that's been homogenized and it's been just totally pasteurized to pulverization, you oftentimes see mold growth in it. So just food for thought. I think that in the functional community, milk has gotten a really bad rap, and it could also be whatever mold is in our body that is initiating a toxic response to the milk itself. Because if you get some fungal spores that in your body that are different than a different fungal spore inside of you, you're gonna have you can have a toxic reaction to that. It can start producing toxins and toxic enzymes that compete against that and make you bloated, irritated, diarrhea, constipation. It is crazy how many things in your body can be out of flux, and I won't go into all the complexities of that, neither do I know all of them, so I will check out on this. Oh, a turkey. Turkey walking into our woods. I don't know how I'm going to keep them out of my garden. Electric fence. I hope Kalina doesn't kill them. I like to see wildlife walking around.